Hello, I'm Will Yeoman, and welcome to another episode of the pod Well Travelled. Today I'm joined by travel writers, journalists, photographers, everything you can think of, everything under the sun, Geoffrey Thomas and Mogens Johansen. Gents, welcome to the pod.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Will.
In case you're wondering where our beloved leader, Stephen Scarfield, is, he is freezing his proverbials off right now in Antarctica. Not feeling too sorry for him, though, are we, lads?
No,
absolutely not.
We are tracking him. He's on the Greg Mortimer, and we're tracking him. He's in amongst the Antarctic, the peninsula. So I'm sure they're having a tremendous time.
Indeed. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about things closer to home because both of you, in very different ways, have been exploring parts of Western Australia. So who wants to go first? Because one's a bit of a tale of woe and the other one's more of a happier story.
We'll go with the woe first.
So we'll go for okay, Mogens.
Yeah,
Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, long story short, I decided along with a couple of mates that we were going to do the Munda Biddi trail from sort of end to end from Albany to Perth, and we're hoping to do it in 9 days. It's sort of, our plan involved sort of doing it in comfort. You can stay in huts along the way. They're sort of spaced roughly 60 to 70 kilometres apart, but then you'd need to carry camping gear and cooking gear, all that sort of stuff. So we decided that we would make it to a town each night, stay at an Airbnb or a hotel, have a nice meal, sleep in a nice bed, and then get up and ride again. That was their plan, and it didn't get off to the best of starts for me because we had a sort of nice, easy day from Albany to Denmark, and I managed to sort of crash basically. 1 minute I'm cycling along, the next minute I'm sort of flying over the handlebars Superman style, and ended up I didn't sort of break anything, but I hurt my shoulder and my wrist a bit, and pride more than anything perhaps. Anyway, that wasn't, so I wasn't off to the best of starts, and then we had a couple of pretty tough and long days, sort of 9-10 hour days in the saddle, between towns, from Denmark to Walpole was 155 k's, from Walpole to Northcliffe was 125, and really nothing in between. So they were hard days, and hard on the old body, if I can put it that way. So, but it was a fantastic experience. We saw some amazing country. It's quite wet in places, so it was hard going as well. It wasn't easy, and we made it sort of to, I guess, we made it to Nannup eventually, and I was starting to feel pretty beaten up by then. Lots of hard trails and lots of kilometres in the legs, long time in the saddle every day, blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. But I had another minor crash, and sort of at the end of that day, or towards the end of that day, I could feel I was going to have to sort of make a decision on whether to continue or not. Long story short, I decided to ride home from Boyanup, which was on our way to, we were sort of halfway through a day where we needed to finish in Collie. But like I said, I was pretty beaten up by then, and I decided to take the roads home from Boyanup. So I rode to Harvey, and then from Harvey to Perth the following day. But my two companions, they did manage to carry on and complete the last bit of the trail from there. They had some pretty sort of tough days ahead of them. They had 2 more tough days ahead of them, but they managed to finish it, so I was there waiting for them when they got to Mundaring.
I mean, that's an amazing story, and we'll be able to read about it in a forthcoming article in the West Australian's travel pages as well. But I wanted to ask you, just in general, because it's the corresponding bike trail to the Bibbulmun, which is the walking trail, and both of those you can do in stages, so anyone can do this. They just decide how much of it they want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And because I don't want to put people off by your experience.
No. and it's clearly this. I mean, certainly from in the cycling, a lot of people I know do sections of it, and I've done sections of it in the past. In particular up in the hills here. So that's quite common. Just do day trips. Or even an overnighter or something like that. Logistically it makes it a lot easier. Most people aren't sort of. We were perhaps, in hindsight, we rushed it a bit. Certainly from my point of view, it would have been nice to have a rest day that probably would have seen me through. If I had a rest day somewhere doing nothing other than eating and drinking and just chilling out. But we'd sort of set a schedule, we'd booked accommodation, all that sort of stuff. So I kind of felt like we were sort of locked into it.
Fair enough.
But, there's people that take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks to do it and just sort of spend some time in the towns and spend some time in the forests, just looking around and staying at the huts and all that sort of stuff. So it depends on what you choose to do, and it's the same with the Bibbulmun track. Some people will do a section, some will do it end to end. Others will if they do it end to end, they'll do it as fast as they can, and others will take months to do it. Like walking the Bibbulmun, for example, is it's 1,000 kilometres. It's going to take you a while.
Yeah, indeed. So there are lots of different options there.
Yeah,
depending
exactly.
on your, interest, your fitness level, how much time you've got.
Yeah.
So,
and the cycling as well. There's for those that are interested, there's obviously different types of bikes you can choose, and that makes a difference as well. You can choose a full suspension mountain bike, or like what we chose, these gravel bikes. It's basically a road bike with wider tyres, but there's no suspension. So that's, in the end, I think that's what got me in the end. Just the constant pounding, and long hours on in the saddle. But anyway,
sounds like you're relieved to be back in the office here with us, which is
I'm
which is
chilling out in the office chair here now. It's very nice.
Geoffrey, have you experienced either or both the Munda Biddi or the Bibbulmun?
No, I'm actually a sane person.
So you prefer to travel
in my Jeep Cherokee,
yeah, indeed. And tell me, where have you been to recently?
Well, it was actually a month or two ago. Went out to Kew Mount Magnet chasing wildflowers, and while we were doing that, we also went to Walga Rock.
Okay, sorry, where is that roughly for listeners?
Up in Kew. So Kew,
Western Australia, it's around about...
Kew is about 7 to 8 hours east of Perth,
northeast
of Perth. On the Great Northern Highway, going to Newman, Meekatharra Newman, and Kew and Mount Magnet. Mount Magnet comes first, then Kew's just up the road. When I say just up the road, it's about an hour up the road.
It's in Australian terms.
Yes, exactly. And then inland from Kew there's two places we went to: Walga Rock, which is a fabulous rock, and courtesy of the elders of the Wajari people, who are the custodians of it, because it is a sacred site, and the site of the largest amount of Aboriginal rock art in Western Australia. Wow. Really a magnificent place to go, and we went there, and you can climb the rock as well, which is great. And then we also went to Big Bell. Now, Big Bell was a town that was built in 1954. In the late 1930s, I should say, and it finished up in 1954-55.
Sure, okay.
The only thing that left standing is a Art Deco hotel, The rest of the town has been consumed by wildflowers when we were there.
Wow, amazing.
And it's really, really gorgeous in a way. But this one Art Deco hotel is still kind of standing. But it's really interesting to go there and read up on all the different. They've got plaques up and signs up of what was there and what they did and whatnot. So we've written that up for this week as well.
Beautiful, yeah.
And but they're still mining gold at Big Bell. It's a big deposit, and there is an underground mine there because with the price of gold so high these days, it's become viable to extract the ore and process it. So there's a fairly big operation all around the Kew, Mount Magnet, Big Bell area of various gold mines. So
okay.
So it was a really interesting experience. We're doing this with some friends, Ray and Shauna Watson. Ray was a retired surveyor, a lifelong friend of mine, and he knows all these places. He's pegged this and pegged that over the years, and so I know a really good spot to do this. And okay, let's go off on this gravel road, and it's great to have a person who really knows the lie of the land intimately.
Personal expert guide.
Well, yeah, indeed, because he takes us to a bunch of places that would never dream of going by ourselves, because he just knows it, and it's nice to have company, a couple of vehicles, and you feel you feel good about it. And must comment too, the roads up there, they're all gravel, once you get off the main drag. But the Shire, I'm not sure which Shire it is, they keep these gravel roads in immaculate condition. Okay. Beautiful. Very wide, absolute no corrugations, really a pleasure to drive on.
Really
so, it's, and of course in wildflower season, carpets upon carpets of wildflowers. A stunning part of the world. It really is. It's if anybody wants to see wildflowers, just go up there. Yeah, you'll see them as far as the eye can see.
Well, it sounds absolutely terrific. So, as you say, we can read all about this in this Saturday Australian Travel section.
Yep.
Oh, when you've got some absolutely gorgeous pictures to accompany that story. Well.
Indeed. Plus my sojourn to Bali.
Oh, indeed. Oh, that's right. We were going to mention that. Thanks for bringing it up again.
I'm not a Bali. I'm not a Bali person at all. I've just for years said no, I'm not going.
Yeah, sure.
And then a friend of mine, just after COVID finished, and hasn't finished, but when we opened up, he sent me a text message with a picture of 2 glasses of champagne with a beautiful beach in the background. And I said to my wife, Christine, let's go to Bali. Before I had a chance to change my mind, she'd made the booking. So we stayed at the Sofitel Nusa Dua and just had a fabulous 8 or 9 days there.
Beautiful.
Just chilling out, and it was really great. Loved it. So I'm now a Bali convert.
Okay. Well, I have to say, I know you guys have both been before. I have yet to go, so I'm still holding out.
Well, it's one of those things where you've got to pick the location to suit your style.
Indeed.
And so, getting a good travel agent or getting some good advice or doing some good research, do I want to party all night? Yes, well then go over there. Do I want to chill out and have no parties, no noise, and go over here? And it really is there's so many parts to Bali now. It's not just the Kuta thing. There's dozens of places, and some of them are just amazing.
Yeah, it's a bit the same. What you're saying there, Geoffrey, is the same with cruise ships, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, you really have to sort of do your homework a little bit about. It's not all about the destinations. It's just as much about the ships, isn't it? The ships, the cultural.
We had a big conversation about this
last week. We did, and we should refresh it off what Mogens is saying.
Because both of you are about to go on your very different cruises, actually.
Exactly. Mogens is on a party boat. I'm on a different sort of. I'm on the Queen Elizabeth.
Something a bit more style.
I'm doing the traditional cruising. The old style, which is great. That's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
To experience that.
But Mogens likes to party hard, so he's
exactly.
No, my hard party days are gone, I'm afraid. But,
so out of interest, who are you going with? Just joking aside.
Norwegian Cruise Lines.
Oh, naturally, yes.
Yeah, so we're going to the Pacific, basically.
Right,
island hopping out there a little bit, so they should be really interested interesting. It's a place I haven't been to before, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I have cruised with Norwegian before, and they were excellent.
Oh yeah, that's one of the really good cruise lines. But look, the advice, as we said last week, we were talking with Stephen about it. When it comes to cruising, get yourself a good travel agent and explain exactly what you want to experience. It just makes the difference. Chalk and cheese. It'll make a hell of a difference to and because you don't want to waste $3,000 or $5,000 on a cruise that you just don't want to be on.
No, of course.
No, that makes absolute sense.
Yeah. Great advice.
And how are you feeling about the COVID situation, mate? Because we had, 800 cases recently pop up in one of the cruise liners
indeed, and
here in Australia.
I was monitoring that with the New South Wales Health Department, and they were very relaxed about it.
Yeah,
and they
absolutely.
said, look, it's all under control, completely under control. Those folks that didn't have COVID got off first. The ones that did were held back. They then got off the ship and were instructed to go home in a limo, which were organised, and then to quarantine. But I think the focus now is very much on looking after yourself. You had the opportunity to get 3 or 4 vaccinations. 4 vaccinations now. You can wear masks if you so desire, and it's all about your own responsibility, not the government looking after you.
Exactly.
Look after yourself, because we can't go back into lockdowns. But these ships seem to be handling it really, really well, and there seems to be no repercussions.
That's just let me take you back. That's an interesting conversation when people start talking about things like, say, air purifiers, quality of air, measuring the CO2. I think that's right. Wearing masks, social distancing. I don't think lockdowns are part of that equation. I don't think any of us should ever assume we're going to go back into lockdown. No. I don't think that's where the conversation is. But I do think you're right. I think personal responsibility means something different to lockdowns. It means wearing a mask if you want to. Yep. If you're worried about air, make sure you've got a well-ventilated room. Whatever. Choose a cabin with a what do you call it? A balcony.
Yeah. Exactly.
All those kinds of things you can do, can't you?
Look, indeed. And in fact, I said to Christine, with this COVID outbreak, we're going to take masks with us on the Queen Elizabeth.
Just have them
and have them. If we decide we want to go and do something with a lot of people, we'll probably wear masks.
Yeah.
And we're going to take some rack tests with us as well, just to sort of look after ourselves and make our own decisions.
It's just being sensible, so you can still have a great time away. You can do everything you want to do.
Yep.
And not worry so much about getting sick.
Yeah, another thing is, on a recent trip I did with Viking cruises in the Mediterranean, and I'm sure it's the same for most of the ships now, they have a certain amount of cabins allocated to isolate COVID cases in. So they're not fully booked.
No.
They're fully booked if they're 80% full.
Yes.
As far as they're concerned. That's what I was told on the Viking cruise I was on. And, that just means that they're able to manage those, small outbreaks on board if there is one. So I think, what you were saying before, Geoffrey, is true in so many ways. It's, governments have got better at managing, little outbreaks, things like the cruise lines, airlines, they've got better at sort of managing things, and, people are much more inclined to take personal responsibility now as well, I feel. So I think all those things combined makes it easier to manage the whole thing.
Look, indeed, and I think that 800 was quite an exceptional one-off situation. I mean, I was talking to the Cruise Association recently, and cruising's been back now for over a year around the world, and there are occasional outbreaks. And it's no big deal. But there's outbreaks everywhere. There's outbreaks all over the place.
Yeah, as someone suggested, it'd make sense then that cruise lines would mirror what's going on in society in general.
Look, indeed, and it's just really, it's a little bit like getting a very bad dose of the flu these days. It's a bit more serious than that. But at the same time, if you're health compromised in any way, well, then you shouldn't be mixing with the rest of the population
indeed.
anyway. You got to, you have to say, look, I am really health compromised, so I really can't do some of these things.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing now is the enormous amount of data coming out around long COVID, which is a separate issue almost, because yes, you can say, okay, I might have a mild case, I might have a dose of the flu, you're over it. Well, actually, you may not be.
No.
You may have serious ongoing concerns, and I think that needs to be emphasised, because people tend to forget that.
Yeah. A couple of friends of mine have got long COVID.
Right.
And it's a challenge.
Because if you think about the economy, you think about how many people can potentially be taken out of the workforce. It's been happening in the UK. It's huge. It's like,
well, this is one of the big problems with aviation at the moment, and has been for the last 12 months, has been the COVID illness situation, taking people out of the workforce and disrupting. And it's not just aviation; it's right across all industries. It's still a big problem.
Yeah, so anyway, as I say, be sensible, stay safe, and you really shouldn't have any problems. So just enjoy yourselves. Okay, guys, well, thank you so much for joining me in the Pod Well Travelled. I think we're all due for a coffee in the cafe downstairs now.
We are indeed.
We'll leave our listeners until next week.
Terrific.
Thanks, Will.